Welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast. I'm Rick, and this is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary. Today we are going to be, I guess not really we. It's going to be me. I'm doing it solo today. The creeps were a little busy, and because of scheduling and stuff like that, it looks like I'm going to tackle 1999's Wild Zero. Before I jump into this thing, let me do a quick synopsis. Aliens invade the planet and turn humans into zombies. After saving his heroes, Guitar Wolf, from their manager and having the honor of becoming their blood brothers, wannabe rocker Ace finds himself caught up in the carnage. All right, so 1999's Wild Zero. This was a movie that I think sometime last year, Donovan and I were running searches for just for some zombie movies. I think it got to a point where the stuff here in the US just became, I don't know, kind of boring, maybe played out. And so we were on a kick, and we were searching for kind of like zombie movies from let's say other countries, and we concocted a list, and Wild Zero made that list. It wasn't like a top list; it was just like, hey, this looked interesting, so hey, maybe we'll check it out. And so I ended up having to buy this thing because I couldn't find it anywhere to stream, which was kind of a bummer. Because typically when that happens for me, sort of a blind buy, I don't do it that often. It's very, very rare that I do it. I would say I've done it maybe a handful of times, and it always seems to blow up in my face. So that's why I typically don't do it. But for the sake of the podcast, I had to break down and buy this thing. It's kind of a bummer because I'll be honest, right off the bat, I didn't care for this movie. Before we go further, full spoilers. So if you haven't seen Wild Zero, maybe I guess stop it and then go check it out if you want to check it out. My guess is if you haven't seen this movie, more than likely you've never heard of it, or you're really not missing much. I'll be honest. This movie. It was a bit strange for me. I watched it a few days ago, and I was going to, start recording and just crap all over this thing. And then I took a few days to kind of let it marinate a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to crap on it, but I'm not going to crap on it as much. I think I understand what they're doing here. This isn't meant to be a serious movie. This is kind of I would call this a B movie. The premise is crazy. Aliens invade the planet, and basically everyone gets turned into zombies. Not everyone, but most everyone. What you have here is a band, and I will say this is for Wild Zero. I thought Guitar Wolf. And there's three guys that's part of the band. Guitar Wolf is the lead singer. You have, I think the other person is Bass Wolf and Drum Wolf. And these guys are cool. They're all kind of decked out in leather. They're constantly, either drinking or combing their hair. It's, from what I understand, they're a real band from, I think that was formed sometime in 1987 in Tokyo, Japan. And from what I've read, this is kind of their thing. Since they are an actual band, they basically took some of the stuff they do on stage, their kind of antics and their on-screen personas, and they translated into this movie. So again, like I said, the hair combing, like beer drinking and stuff like that. From what I've read and heard is they do this on stage when they do shows. But they're a real band. From what I understand, they have a few albums out. I actually kind of dug the music. It's totally influenced by punk, so it's definitely a punk sound, a punk look. The only difference is it's just this is in Japanese, So before we kind of like, I'm not going to go through every scene on this. I will talk about stuff that I liked, didn't understand. Just the main stuff I think that jumped out at me. I'll run through the characters real quick. First off, we have Ace. Ace is like I said, he's a wannabe rocker, and he ends up being kind of the main focal point of this story. Tobio is another character. She I think Ace at some point down the road bumps into her at a gas station. We don't get a lot of dialogue from Tobio. She's there, but mainly we're looking at Ace as the main character. Guitar Wolf, Bass Wolf, and Drum Wolf, they're there, but you don't see him a lot. And then we got Captain. Captain, from what I take, is the manager of Guitar Wolf. And this guy is strange to me. He's very strange, kind of almost a sociopath. The way he wears wigs, which are just odd to me, and the way the shorts he wears, like, it's strange. They never explain it, so I don't know what that is about. It's almost like if you pictured like a Daisy Duke, it would be a smaller version of that, if that's even possible. And that's what this guy was wearing. But he's crazy. My guess is there's a beef with him and Guitar Wolf, or basically I would say Guitar Wolf is probably just tired of his crap. You have Yamazaki, and again, ahead of time, if I pronounce any of these wrong, I apologize. So I'm gonna do the best I can. Yamazaki, it looks like she was like some sort of I'm gonna say like almost like some sort of military. I'm not sure what she was. She was selling weapons, and there's a scene with a character named Condo. Condo looks like he was buying the weapons from Yamazaki, but Condo doesn't last long. Then you have Hanako, and her boyfriend looks like Toshi, and then their friend Masao. Masao's a strange one, doesn't say much, but I think for the most part, those are the main characters. Yeah, so this starts out. It's in a club. I guess Captain owns the club. Guitar Wolf finishes up their set. They go to talk with Captain, and kind of stuff goes down. Like I said, I think this has probably been building up. They're probably just tired of his crap. Ace rolls in just as there's like this confrontation with guns, and this is an interesting part to me, and I almost wanted to go back and rewatch this part, but I didn't. From what I can remember, there was Guitar Wolf, and basically it's made up of three guys: a captain and his sidekick or his henchman, whatever he is, and then Ace rolls in. So I counted 6 people, but when Ace rolls in, a gun goes off, and it basically shoots off the head of a guy that's in the room, but it's never explained where this guy was. Where did he come from? And there was a woman with him. They never were introduced in this scene. Maybe I missed it, or maybe it was just a mistake. And so his head gets blown off, and then so there's a scene with Captain and Guitar Wolf, and Guitar Wolf essentially gets the upper hand with this. I think they ended up blowing his fingers off, Captain, and so because of this, again, Ace is rolling into this accidentally. This wasn't planned. It just happened because of this, because of what happened. Guitar Wolf, basically is like, hey, Ace, you're our blood brother now. And so, he cuts his hand, cuts Ace's hand, and hey, anytime you need us, and he gives him a whistle. Hey, blow the whistle, we'll hear it, we'll be there. And that comes into play, of course, down the road. And Guitar Wolf heads out, and I think they went to the next town to play a gig. But in the meantime, strange things are happening. People are turning into zombies. So Ace hops on his motorcycle, and he hits the road, and I don't know if the intent here is to follow Guitar Wolf, because it looks like they're on to the next kind of like the next town. again, it doesn't really explain it. Then we're introduced to Hanako, Toshi, and Masao, and there's a lot of banter back and forth. But they end up at a gas station, and this is where basically we get Tobio and Ace are going to meet for the first time. I believe that's what happens here. So Hanako and Toshi are in the gas station, and their friend Masao. This is strange to me. He just, I don't know, like just randomly goes a little crazy, grabs a couple knives, heads into the liquor store, the gas station to rob it. And then he's standing by the door, and that's when Ace just, opens the door and it hits him, and it kind of threw him off, and he kind of punked out with the whole thing. Ran back to the car. Him, Hanako, and Toshi leave. This is where Ace, like I said, meets Tobio for the first time. I don't recall. Honestly, this movie was a little forgettable for me. I found it very boring. I was very uninterested. I tried. I kept dozing off. So if I have some stuff jumbled together, I apologize. But I think Ace ends up leaving. And he's driving, and of course he comes across a I think this was like a van, and I think it was the same van that they ran into. I think it was like two workers or something. I can't remember their jobs, but he runs into them again down the road, and of course they're being eaten up by zombies. He freaks out. He turns around to go back to to make sure Tobio is okay. And so there's again there's different things happening here. I think the zombies kind of, when he comes back to the gas station, the zombies have now kind of surrounded the place. So he ends up getting Tobio. I think there's definitely a connection with them. And they end up in some sort of like warehouse where zombies, of course, are everywhere. And this scene is weird for me. Again, there's a connection for sure with them. I think they kiss, and then he turns around, and Tobio is nude, and it's kind of shocking. I guess first of all, it would be shocking that during this kind of zombie apocalypse or whatever is happening, this is the first thing is thought of. It's like one kiss and we go straight to this. But what's more surprising for him was that he realizes Tobio is a transgender, which I thought was interesting. This is 1999. I mean, nowadays it's more common. In 1999, not so much. And so of course it freaks Ace out. He doesn't react appropriately. He runs off, and he ends up in a room. Then he hears the zombies and realizes, oh shit, and so he, he's confused about the whole thing. But the minute he hears, the zombies return, he immediately realizes that Tobio is in danger. So everything else kind of washes away, and he goes to save her. And so, but then Ace doesn't find Tobio, and he spends the rest of the movie, trying to track her down. In the short amount of time they were together, you could definitely tell he cares for her. He reacted terribly. And so, now he just wants to make sure she's okay. And that's what's interesting about this. It's Tobio's role isn't big. Ace is clearly the star of this movie. I mean, I would argue, Guitar Wolf themselves, I think it's, when you watch the trailers to this movie, the cover, they're portrayed to be these like kind of superheroes. Like they're the main, like if you didn't know any better, you would think they're the main heroes in this, but they're not. They're there and they help, but Ace is kind of the true hero of this movie. And like I said, Tobio is just kind of there, almost, she almost serves like a, Donovan and I were talking about this the other day, and he mentioned the term fridging, which I'd never heard before. And some of you may be familiar with it. I had never heard of it before. but I guess it was originated in maybe an old Green Lantern comic, where the hero's partner is killed and stuffed in a refrigerator for the protagonist to find. And so they termed the or coined the phrase or the word fridging, which is basically it's like a practice of killing off or hurting some minor character. In this instance, it would be Tobio, in order to motivate or torture a main character, which of course we know is Ace. Other than that, it just seems like Tobio serves no purpose. But the rest of the movie, it's Ace trying to locate Tobio. Hopefully she's okay. In the meantime, we have the zombies. The zombies here are not great. They reminded me of like a really bad version of the zombies from say Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead. They're not great. I mean, the colors are terrible. Again, I guess if this is truly supposed to be a B movie and not an attempt at a serious zombie movie, okay, then it makes sense to me. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that the zombies, they were bad. They didn't move right. They were super duper slow. I mean, almost slower than any other zombie film I've ever seen. The makeup was not good. There were some decent parts with, people dying and the typical, like, we're eating an arm or a leg or intestines. I mean, that seems to be a common trope, right? In zombie movies, at some point it's like someone's eating intestines. It's funny. It's like certain tropes, right? Intestines, or in order to kill them, you have to shoot their head, and and so not great. I mean, the special effects, you could tell a lot of it is CGI, heads exploding, and these aren't all bad. Some of them are pretty good. But then it just became kind of repetitive. It was like the same thing over and over again. We can't figure out any other way to kill the zombies, so let's just shoot them. No decapitations, nothing really creative. Could be just simply they didn't know how to do it. They didn't have the money to do it. The director, I don't know if this was, maybe his first major kind of motion picture. From what I read is he was predominantly known for shooting music videos. So I don't know, maybe this was just too much for him. I know the movie it's a Japanese movie, but it was shot in Thailand. And from what I read, members of the Thai military and their families played the zombies, which I thought was kind of interesting. But as a whole, it just seemed kind of lackluster for me. It's just nothing. It was just kind of a mess. It was like a hot mess in this movie. It's not the worst movie ever, but it's just, there's just so many different things happening in this. It's like, what were you trying to be? I mean, it's you see flying saucers, the space people turn in, the aliens turn them into zombies. You got this rock and roll kind of punk thing happening. So it's a lot of things, and none of it really worked for me. I don't know, maybe I'm missing, I'm missing the whole point of this movie. Like, maybe their intent was to make this kind of crazy B movie, and I went into this thing thinking it was going to be something else, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's supposed to be, this just kind of crazy, wild, unique, and interesting movie. There's a lot of unique things happening in this movie. I don't know, maybe if this is a movie you have to see several times to get it. For instance, I mean, first time I saw Spinal Tap, I didn't get it. And then I've watched it a million times since then, and every damn time I watch it, it's more funnier than the last time, and I catch additional things. Maybe that's what Wild Zero is. For all we know, it's some I'm gonna guess it's probably a cult movie, similar to, like, say, Rocky Horror Picture Show. In my opinion, Rocky Horror Picture Show is a terrible movie, but it's a cult movie that has a ton of following. And over time, people have learned to just accept all of the weird stuff and in the movie, and there are a lot of people that love it. I don't think it's a huge percentage, but the people who love it are, really love it. Like they really get into it. You know, they go to the midnight showings and they probably act out in these movies. And maybe that's what Wild Zero is. Maybe it's a midnight showing, somewhere, and the more times you watch it, the more you get it, and maybe it's more enjoyable. To me, when I look at this thing, I'm like, okay, unless you're drunk or unless you sit down and watch a horror movie drunk or high, which I do neither. Maybe it's more enjoyable. It's possible, because it's such a crazy ass movie that maybe you have to be those things in order to enjoy this. A lot of the stuff was just very awkward. The editing and the cutaways and the transitions were just weird. These weird fade to blacks, which just made absolutely no sense, were just bad. It's almost like, I don't know, beginning of film school or editing, and you're just not sure what to do, or it just I don't know. It was just very, very awkward. A lot of the movie was awkward. I think that's why I felt so uninterested with this movie. Because, if you think about it, if you tell someone, yeah, this Wild Zero movie, it's alien, zombies, and punk rock, and it's all these things, and like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And then the execution was just very poor, and I just couldn't get past it. I wanted to get past it. I really wanted to like this movie, but it just wasn't the case. But let's get back. Let me get back to the movie itself. With these movies, it's like you get to this point, right, where, the zombies are everywhere. And you got your main characters, which I should talk about earlier, earlier on, with, Ace, Tobio, you got the Guitar Wolf, and Captain is still after Guitar Wolf. Hey, look, you shot off my fingers. I'm pissed. By this time, Hanukkah and Toshi, they've all kind of gathered to this warehouse, and I believe this is a warehouse that is, I don't know if it's owned by Yamasaki, but this thing has got artillery everywhere, which is a good thing when you're being attacked by zombies, And so yeah, there's your typical standoff, right? You're killing as many zombies as you can. You're hoping in the process you don't get bit. But like in any zombie movie, it's bound to happen, right? One or two of you is only going to survive. And so, and we know that Guitar Wolf, nothing's happening to them. They're going to be fine. But you don't see a lot of them in this movie. Like, they're there when Ace needs them. And they're, a little bit periodically. There's a scene. This was kind of cool, I guess, in a cheesy way. There's a scene where they roll up to the gas station and their zombies are everywhere. And Guitar Wolf does this thing. The only way I can explain it is if you had your hand out and your hand was filled with like special powered guitar picks, and Guitar Wolf is literally like pushing them out, kind of like you would do with money these days, like bills, and he's basically shooting these things, and anytime it hits a zombie, it kills them. I don't know what's in these guitar picks, but it's kind of a fun scene, but it's stuff like that. They're occasionally here and there, it's entertaining. When you have those things, but as a whole, it just lost me. In the meantime here, I'm trying to remember. I think Hanako and Toshi end up getting bit, and they turn into zombies. As I mentioned earlier, Masao he died a while back in the movie. He got eaten up by the zombies. So, he's out of the picture. Hanukkah and Toshi, I think Hanako, can't remember which one gets bit first. The relationship with them, you could tell it's like this love-hate relationship. The banter back and forth, they're constantly kind of putting each other down, Hanako's telling Toshi that he needs to get get a good job and take care of me type of thing, and so, but once one of them turns, the other one's devastated, and it's this is a kind of a part of the movie I actually enjoy. It's because Toshi, I think both of them end up turning into zombies, and then they find each other like towards the end of the movie as zombies, and it's kind of like this cute, cool thing, right? It's like, even after, I guess after death, it's like they still kind of found each other, good or bad. It's kind of like this. And that's this thing with this movie. This is the one thing I can say, which is kind of a cool message, with Wild Zero. It's kind of, look, I mean, they're pushing, rock and roll and this punk thing and believe in yourself. But, their main message here is love has no boundaries, right? I mean, it's clear with, the two characters of Ace and Tobio. Tobio's a transgender, and Ace, Ace just doesn't care. He was shocked at first because it was a shocking moment, right? You're being attacked by zombies, and then all of a sudden there's this scene, and I didn't know you were transgender, and so he acted, he acted kind of, I kind of crazy, and I'm not saying everyone would act that way, but it wasn't like it wasn't surprising the way he acted or reacted. But he, after that, it's like, he cares about her a lot and doesn't even think twice about it anymore. And, is really spends the rest of the movie trying to, find Tobio and making sure she's okay. And so, if anything, if I can, I feel like I've spent most of the time kind of, putting down this movie. And again, it's not a great movie, and I don't think I'd ever rewatch it, but the message here is cool, right? Love has no boundaries. And I think it's, kind of I believe it's a cool message, But anyways, we get kind of this kind of finale, the zombies are everywhere. This main spaceship, comes down, and this is cheesy. But again, it's reminiscent of this movie. That's why I believe that, I believe, again, I could be way wrong, but I believe that this was their intent, was this is a B movie. And so we're going to do this crazy shit. And there's this scene with Guitar Wolf on top of a building when the spaceship, this humongous spaceship is coming. And Guitar Wolf whips out this samurai sword from the neck of his guitar and uses it to basically cut the spaceship in half. This is the crazy shit I'm talking about. It's nuts, And so you kind of have to just kind of, all right, you kind of almost have to laugh at it. I mean, there's no way that it's supposed to be serious. There's a few additional scenes with with Captain, because Captain is still trying to find Guitar Wolf, to make them pay for blowing off his fingers. He finally tracks them down, and there's some there's kind of like a standoff. I think he ends up getting a rocket launcher through his stomach or something like that. Then there's a crazy scene where he's almost like zapping stuff out of his mouth or something like that. It was just again kind of cheesy, odd. But bottom line here is Captain dies. I think most of the zombies die. Guitar Wolf, kind of rides off into the sunset, right? To the next town, for the next gig. And and Tobio and Ace kind of I don't know, do they probably live happily after here? Yeah, for the most part, that's Wild Zero. I didn't want to go scene by scene, and to be honest, doing this on my own, I'm not going to remember everything. As I'm approaching 50 these days, I don't remember everything, and I watched this a few days ago. It's a crazy movie. Me personally, I didn't care for it. If there's anything I talked about that maybe anyone out there who's seen Wild Zero knows some stuff about it, that hey, shoot us a message on Instagram or something and maybe clear something up. I mean, it's possible. I just missed the whole point of this movie. I don't think I did. But if I did, I apologize. it just wasn't my thing. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that probably love this movie. I'm not one of them. I just, it's a movie I would watch once for the podcast, and that would probably be about it. I don't think I would recommend it to anyone. It's just a wild movie. I don't think I think there's a small percentage of people that would like this, and a very, very small percentage. And like I said, I mean, to me, I see this as a movie like, you know, you have a bunch of friends over, and not at 50, not at my age, but let's say you're in your 20s, I don't know, you know, mid 20s, and you have a bunch of friends over and you guys are drinking, and you're like, hey, you want to see some crazy ass, you know, Japanese alien zombie punk rock movie? You're like, hell yeah. You know, and you've already had 3 or 4 maybe drinks in you, and you pop this in, and there's a good chance that you and your friends are going to love this fucking movie. I don't know, you know, I didn't. And so I don't think I would recommend it. You know, just my 2 cents. You know, take it for what it is. But other than that, I think that's really going to do it. I wrote some notes down. I think I touched on just about everything I wanted to touch on. You know, I think that's about it. Before I let you guys go, I did want to bring up something on a bummer note or on a downer note, but you know, anyone who's listening to us, you know, there's me and there's the creeps, the 3 other guys that I do the podcast with. One of them is my son Donovan, and then the other 2 are my best friends, Darren and Morris. But Donovan is no longer going to be doing episodes with us. Just with work and scheduling, he just doesn't have the time. So you know, I thought I'd take a minute to just to let everyone know I'm kind of bummed out by it. You know, if you guys have listened to our episodes, you know, you've probably have caught on. You know, Donovan, he has a bachelor's degree in film history, so you know, he knows a lot about film, movies, you know, TV, and the ins and outs of, I think, a little bit of the industry. And so when him and I sat down, God, over 1.5 years ago, and we wanted to do this podcast, I thought this would be right up his alley. He's not a huge horror fan like me, Darren, and Morris, but I knew he had a lot to bring to the table, and so I'm a little bummed. You know, it's a possibility. I'm not going to say he's never going to be back, because I hate to say never. There's a chance down the road we do a special episode, and maybe Donovan joins in. But I wanted to let everyone know that. And I think that's about it. We want to thank you guys. I don't think we say this that often, but anyone that's out there listening that listens to us regularly, we appreciate it. We really do. We're just some dudes who talk horror, you know, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Hopefully on the solo episode, I didn't completely bore you. To be honest, this was a little difficult. It's the first solo episode I've done, so I was a little all over the place. But again, you know, hey, thanks for listening to us. And next episode, I think Darren and I are going to be talking John Carpenter's They Live. So hopefully the solo episode didn't scare you off, and you guys will come back and listen to us again. Everyone, take care. You listened all the way to the end. We appreciate that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ear for Fear Podcast, Twitter at Ear for Fear, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ear for Fear Podcast. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There we list news and events. We're available on all the main platforms, so make sure you tell a friend. We hope you come back and get an earful.